involving the Development Bank of the Philippines. The defendants there were the chair, Rinaldo David, and a private citizen by the name of Roberto Ongpin. That case involved some issues on about taxation and its relation to insider trading. I was able to decide that case properly insofar as I am concerned. But to keep me abreast also, whenever I have the time, I try to read decisions of the Supreme Court on some important matters or events or cases that is being decided by the Supreme Court.
Are you computer savvy? Are you computer literate?
I encode my decisions personally. I only know about Word. I can do research from the internet. That's what I do, Your Honor.
With regard to case management, how do you determine which decisions to prepare for, or how do you determine which cases which have already been submitted for decision to work on first?
I just assume the chairmanship of the second division, where I have the, should I say, the power to manage the caseload of the division. I work on which of these cases had first been submitted for decision and give it a priority before other cases submitted for decision should be decided by the court. So in short, the one that the first in, first out is the policy that I adopt at present, Your Honor.
How much reliance do you have on the use of technology in helping you manage your court docket?
Well, I always, actually, I do supervise it personally, the office of the clerk of court. I always want to be informed daily on the pleadings that are submitted by the parties, so that if these pleadings can immediately be decided by the court, like motions for extensions of time, I immediately dispose of that, so that the matter of being heard on a motion day should be dispensed with, and the court will be given more ample time to concentrate on other matters.
For the cases that are assigned to you, how much time does it take you usually to do an extended resolution, not just on postponements, but something that would require more substantial content?
I think there are times when it depends on the case and on the issues involved and the documents or the evidence is presented. Takes me about between 3 to 6 months to decide a case that are complicated, but that is complicated. I'm sorry.
Including resolutions?
Depends again on the resolutions. If it is just a matter of a motion to file demurrer to evidence, and I decided to deny that, it only takes me about a week or 2 weeks to deny that demurrer to evidence. But if I have to grant the demurrer to evidence, I have to study that carefully because I have to discuss the reasons for the granting of the demurrer.
Thank you, Justice. In the case of People versus Carlos Flores Garcia, I believe you penned this, and you began by saying, and I quote, "The law must not just be spoken as written, it must be administered and enforced according to its letter and spirit," end of quote. As the interpreter of laws, the Supreme Court decisions are jurisprudence and form part of the law of the land. Do you agree that the Supreme Court commits errors every now and then, and how would you avoid this should you be appointed to the High Court?
I would agree that sometimes the Supreme Court commits errors. I have a case that I decided when I was a presiding judge in Agoo, La Union. I convicted the accused for murder. When the case was brought to the Court of Appeals, the decision was modified to frustrated murder. And when the case finally reached the Supreme Court, the decision was the accused is only guilty of serious physical injuries. But the victim in that case died. So I would say that the decision that the Supreme Court made an error. To avoid this, I always try to read the records of the case. I do not rely on my researchers to give me a statement of facts. Even on jurisprudence, when I ask them to make a research for me, I always ask them to hand me over the decision that they are citing in a particular case. To borrow the lingo of the Tagalogs, nagiging sigurista lang ho ako.
Thank you, Justice. And I have the warning light there, so this is my last question. Actually, it is based on a comment made by one of our respondents. Is it true that they made a courtesy call to the President? Why was it necessary for them to make a courtesy call? Were they not concerned that it might affect their independence? Was he contemplating rather that he would be aspiring for the High Court? Would you care to comment?
In all honesty, Your Honor, I did not make a courtesy call to the President. Neither did Justices Fernandez, Ekong, and Queiroz make that courtesy call. We went to Davao City to conduct a out-of-town hearing. We arrived in Davao on a Sunday. We were informed that afternoon when we arrived that the President was going back to Manila. On Tuesday, I was asked by one of the justices if I am willing to see the President. And naturally, any person in his sane mind will always say, yes. Who am I to say I don't like to see the President? So I said yes. I said, why? He said the President would like to meet us on Thursday. I said, how would it be possible when the President is in Manila? He said, no, the President is going back to Davao on Thursday because I think Wednesday he was scheduled to go to Jolo or one of these towns in Mindanao. So Thursday we were on our way to the President's office at the Department of Public Works when suddenly I received a text message from Justice Teresita Baldos, now retired from the Sandigan Bayan, telling me that, wow, you are going to see the President. So I asked her, where did you get that news? She said, it is now through DZMM, double M. And then a few seconds, my wife also texted me that said, so you're going to see President Duterte. I said, where did you hear that? She said, also from ABS-CBN. On our way, I hope that event was recorded. I was really angry. I was angry at the President's men, especially the ones handling the media, for leaking this information to the media. I was telling the other justices that I will confront whoever is handling the media affairs of the President, that this is a private affair. This is a private invitation from the President. It will give a very bad impression to the public that we are going there because the President is going to ask us for something. We did talk to the President that evening. We spent 4 hours with him. But not a single case did the President ask us what that case is all about. The President only told us about his war on drugs. He told us about his student days, his life as a student. He told us about his experience within Justice Solidum as his professor. He told us about the history of the Muslims. Nothing, the President told us that I respect the judiciary. I will never interfere in the affairs of the judiciary. But honestly, Your Honor, I almost did not join the group that evening who went to see the President. And I think the justices who were with me could attest to that, Your Honor.
As I mentioned, Justice Martires, that was my last question, and good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Cayosa. May we request now Attorney Mejia to continue. Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon,
Good afternoon, Your
Justice
Honor.
Martires. Let me just, in connection with that particular incident where you met under those circumstances with a president, and given the opportunity now to explain your side, what assurance can you give this body that you will maintain your independence should you be appointed as the next, as one of the associate justices of the Supreme Court?
I have always maintained my independence, even before I joined the judiciary. I used to work, or I worked with the Ministry of Human Settlements. My superiors there could not tell me what to do, especially when it comes to legal matters. It is very unfortunate that after the EDSA revolution, people kept telling me that I am pro-Marcos. But during the time of Marcos, I was really on the streets, joining rallies and demonstrations. When President Aquino became president, I'm referring to the son, they also have been telling me that I am pro-GMA. But as I had said in one of my decisions, that the court should not be influenced by any king or president. We should only rely and make our decisions pursuant to the evidences presented and the applicable law. I have maintained my independence in the Garcia case, even if it meant that President Benigno Simeon Aquino III was mad at the Sandigan Bayan, particularly at me and Justice Baldos. I insisted on what was right, or what is right, and I didn't care what Malacanang would do to us. I even heard that I was the subject of a background investigation, whether I earned from that case or not. But I maintained what I thought was right. I insisted that the office of the Solicitor General cannot intervene or appear before the Sandigan Bayan.
Thank you. What do you think are the major problems plaguing the judiciary today?
There is only one problem that I have two problems. One is corruption, and the other one is the perceived interference of some government officials, and actually, if I may add, the trial by publicity of which media plays a very important role. These are the problems that the judiciary is facing these days, Your Honor.
How do you intend to address this should you be lucky enough to be appointed as one of the associate justices?
We cannot correct public opinion, especially what media would write. A reporter may submit his report to his editors, but the editor can always edit the report of a particular field reporter. We cannot over time change the judiciary by putting in honest officials or honest judges. It is very hard to determine at first who will be honest and who will not be honest. The lure of money is very tempting. It takes someone to be able to say no to accept a gift or money in consideration of a case.
Tweeted question just came in, and this will be my final question. You were admonished by the Supreme Court on January 15, 2013. Why should the JBC not consider that against your application?
When I was first appointed to the Sandigan Bayan, one procedure that the Sandigan Bayan was adopting was to schedule an execution of judgment. I asked my chair, Presiding Justice Inalberto Sandoval, that this is the only instance where we have to schedule an execution of judgment which is not provided for under the rules on criminal procedure. But I was told by Justice Sandoval that this practice by the Sandigan Bayan was adopted during the time of then presiding Justice Francis Garcia-Torena, who according to him wanted to give the accused all the chances of availing of whatever remedy there is. So I knew we were violating the rule. Because, and so far as I am concerned, once the Supreme Court issues an entry of judgment, there is nothing more for the lower court to do but to issue a mitimus. When I was transferred to the 3rd Division, there was this case of Velasco, where the Supreme Court, in that case, where the accused filed a petition for certiorari before the Supreme Court. The accused was convicted by the Sandigan Bayan. The Supreme Court dismissed the petition for certiorari. The accused filed a motion for reconsideration. The Supreme Court denied the motion for reconsideration. The accused filed the second motion for reconsideration. Again, the Supreme Court denied the second motion for reconsideration. The accused changed his counsel, and the new counsel filed another petition for certiorari. When that petition for certiorari was filed, the Supreme Court directed the Office of the Solicitor General as well as the Office of the Special Prosecutor of the Ombudsman to file its comments. And then the Supreme Court referred the matter to the en banc. Justices Villaruz and Queiroz, including myself, were of the impression that the Supreme Court might give due course to the second petition for certiorari because it was referred to the en banc. In the meantime, a complaint was filed against us by the private complainant in the criminal case. The en banc denied the second petition for certiorari. We explained to the Supreme Court that we could not execute the judgment because the Supreme Court has entertained the petition for certiorari when it could have outrightly dismissed the second petition. I explained also in my own reply that we are not covered by Rule 65, that we have to await for a temporary restraining order in order for us to proceed. Because the decision has already been promulgated, and therefore there is nothing for the Supreme Court to restrain us from doing. The decision of Justice Bernabe said that we should have waited for a temporary restraining order, but because there was none, we should have proceeded with the execution. But I said this is no longer covered by Rule 65. In criminal actions, the proceedings start from the arraignment of the accused to the promulgation of the decision. We were just awaiting the finality of judgment from the Supreme Court and the final entry. There is no temporary restraining order. And we also said that had the Supreme Court granted the second petition for certiorari, reversed the findings of the Sandigan Bayan convicting the accused, and in the meantime we sent the accused to the National Bilibid prisons, can we unwind what we have done? In a worse scenario, Justice Villaruz, may his soul rest in peace, said that supposing it was a death penalty and we executed that, how do we now bring to life an accused using that ponencia of Justice Bernabe? We took it, we accepted that decision. We cannot do anything. That was the view of Justice Bernabe when we were admonished in that case.
Yeah, that was my final question. Thank you and good luck, Justice Martires. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Attorney Mejia. May we call now Judge Ilaw to continue.
Thank you, Justice Gutierrez. Good afternoon, Justice Martires. And
Good
how are
afternoon,
you
Your Honor.
today?
I am okay, Your Honor. I'm good.
All right, as an Associate Justice of the Sandigan Bayan, incidentally, Sandigan Bayan has a limited jurisdiction. With your knowledge in law in connection with the Sandigan Bayan cases and your experience as such would be enough for you to be nominated as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court?
With no offense meant to anyone, Your Honor. I think my experience as a presiding judge of the Regional Trial Court, and now with my 10 years in the Sandigan Bayan, I think I am in a better position than those who came from private practice, who came from the corporate world. I think I have now a better perspective and a better grasp of how cases should be decided, of how it should be treated, of how to think of the welfare of the citizenry vis-a-vis the issues of a particular case, Your Honor.
All right, you singled out private practitioners. How about those associate justices in the Court of Appeals eyeing or jockeying a position as associate justice of the Supreme Court?
The associate justices of the corporate, I'm sorry, Your Honor, nobody has a monopoly of knowledge. All of us went through 4 years in the College of Law. And I guess the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeals justices are very much also qualified to go to the Supreme Court. If I cannot compare myself to any one of them. I would even say that they might be intellectually better than I am. I could only compare myself to them when it comes to morals. And I could say that probably I am on par with them when it comes to morality. But when it comes to intelligence, I would say that I probably would submit to them and say that they are probably intellectually better than I am.
All right, you have been unanimously endorsed by the Integrated Bar of the Philippines Quezon City Chapter to become an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. How and why do you think you were able to garner the unanimous vote among the members of the IBP Quezon City Chapter? Did you campaign for it?
I think most of the officers of the Quezon City Integrated Bar of the Philippines Chapter, the Quezon City Chapter, most of them have cases before the Sandigan Bayan, and most of them had a chance to observe my demeanor in court. I think most of them are happy with the decisions that I have made, with the rulings that I have made when I am presiding. Most of them probably, I could only say probably, are contented, especially with my dissenting opinions. Although I would say that one of the officers there, Donna Alagar, who is one of those who endorsed me, lost the case before the third division. So probably the only reason why it was unanimous is because they have full trust in me. That is my guess, Your Honor.
All right, the letter also commended your competent management of the court. Can you elaborate on this?
I never allowed counsels to argue for more than 5 minutes. I always make a ruling immediately when an objection is raised. Probably that is what the referred to as court management, Your Honor.
Competent as well as sound management.
I cannot. That is the words of the officers of the Integrated Bar of the Philippines, Your Honor. Probably that is their view, that I am a competent justice of the Sandigan Bayan, especially during trials. Competent when I write my decisions. it is supported by the facts and the law. I don't know, Your Honor, that's probably how they view my conduct as a justice of the Sandigan Bayan.
There is a Twitter question, maybe in general, have addressed to you, Justice Martires. Have anyone ever approached you to influence your decision on a case?
If I say no, Your Honor, I'll be a liar. Yes.
And
Even when I
how,
was a judge, Your Honor, a lot of people would come to me trying to talk to me about a particular case.
and how did you handle it?
I remember clearly when I was a judge in Agoo, when an accused in a rape case was one of the trusted bodyguards of the mayor of Agoo. Some of the bodyguards of the mayor talked to me, tried to influence my decision by telling me that there was no rape. They were telling me that the victim was actually the girlfriend of the accused. I knew the accused was very close to the politicians in Agoo, but I still I convicted the accused, despite the influence and the threats that I received from some of his friends. I was also told when I was writing my decision in a particular case, I'd like to remember that. Yeah, there was a case. I forgot the title of that case, but there was a case when I was being offered 1 million pesos just for me to acquit the accused. I said, if it is 1 billion, I will accept it. I convicted the accused, and it is subject of an appeal to the Supreme Court.
Why the offer is low?
1 million is very low for me, Your Honor. Although I don't have 1 million pesos, I'd like to secure my family with a 1 billion. I can live in Europe, in one of the countries, probably Lithuania or Latvia, and if I have 1 billion pesos, I can easily go anywhere in the world.
And I presume that you may have displeased many politicians in your career as an Associate Justice of the Sandigan Bayan. Is this true?
Pardon, Your Honor?
You may have displeased politicians. Displeased, please. Displeased.
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 I am displeased with the Sandigan Bayan.
No politicians.
Oh, I respect these politicians, and in fact, no politician has ever tried to influence me or talk to me. And it surprises me that none of these politicians came to me. The case I am talking about only refers to a case of a municipal mayor in Luzon. The one who talked to me is a retired government official, not a politician. But none of the politicians, I think, because, Your Honor, I don't think I have displeased any of the accused that I have convicted, because a criminal, as far as I'm concerned, knows the crime that he has committed. The criminal would only hope that the prosecution will make a mistake, and that mistake might eventually result in the acquittal of the accused.
What did you learn from your seminar on corruption, detection, prevention, suppression in Paris, France? Have you applied your learnings at the Sandigan Bayan?
One particular aspect of that seminar that I learned is that there is a gender difference in corruption, that women are less corrupt than men. This is actually findings of some of the researchers of the World Bank. They say that women views corruption as risky. Women are highly moral than men. Women, the research paper says, are strongly influenced by moral values or by their peers. Women do not belong to exclusive men's group on corruption, and no women's group has ever formed an all-female corruption group. This is one thing that I learned. I also learned that there are two types of corruption. One is the political corruption, and the other one is bureaucratic corruption. I also learned that, like the Philippines, France is also corrupt, especially Marseilles, a city in south of France. So I was of the impression that corruption is not the sole domain of the Filipinos or of the Philippines.
Is that not gender insensitivity? Would male magistrates agree to your observation and learnings?
This is a report of the World Bank on corruption. And I tend to agree with that report, that female in government service are less corrupt than their male counterparts.
The council, this August body is balanced. We have 2 women and 2 males.
I think the two members, Your Honor, are the exceptions to this all-male club.
Alright, what is the general tenor of your rulings on cases regarding violations of Republic Act 3019, the anti-graft and corrupt practices?
My view, the tenor of my rulings, actually, Your Honor, I have more acquittals than convictions with respect to cases before the Sandigan Bayan. With no offense meant to the Commission on Audit, if only the lawyers representing the accused in most of the cases pending before the Sandigan Bayan that were filed by the Commission on Audit, if only the lawyers would study the rules and regulations of the Commission on Audit, I think between 85 to 90% of the cases filed by the Commission on Audit before the Sandigan Bayan will be dismissed.
That's how you measure
Yes, Your
legally
Honor.
and personally in acquitting or convicting an accused, so that you could sleep soundly at night?
I think it is better to acquit when you have doubts than to convict, Your Honor. A person who is guilty and later on acquitted, at least is the one who will suffer. An accused who has been acquitted but is actually guilty will actually suffer for the rest of his life. He will be haunted by that one indiscretion moment in his life. I could sleep soundly because I know I did nothing wrong in acquitting any of these accused. And if I go back again to my observations on the Commission on Audit, Your Honor, just recently the 5th Division, where I was appointed as a special member in the case, granted the demurrer to evidence of then Mayor Elinita Binay. I concord with the ponencia of Justice Orado. The case arose from an audit conducted by the Commission on Audit with the team leader Heidi Luce Mendoza, now with the United Nations. The audit was conducted when the Makati City Hall building.
Only one last question, please.
Yes, Your Honor.
Alright, do you think you were able to live up to your promise in treating Senator Enriquez's case with fairness?
Yes, Your Honor. Insofar as that aspect only of the Bill of Particulars is concerned. But now, Your Honor, I am out of the Enrile case because I am now with the 2nd Division, and the case of Senator Juan Ponce Enrile is still with the 3rd Division. Although the motion to quash filed by Lucila Gigi Reyes